Welcome to our 8th session of BEXEL Manager Online Education. My name is Mileta, BIM Manager at BEXEL Consulting. I'm with you again. Today, the topic for the session is progress tracking, planned versus actual comparisons, and the look-ahead plans. Yesterday, we explained how to create 4D and 5D BIM construction simulation using BEXEL Manager Intelligent Scheduling Engine, and how to edit and optimize the schedules. And as a continuation to the previous session, and the logical follow-up to that is explaining workflows and features to input and track the progress from the site, and how to compare actual situation with a planned schedule using BEXEL Manager. As always, for your questions, use Q&A or chat, and I'll try to respond at the end. And before we start with today's topic, let me just briefly, let's say, follow up or a brief review on yesterday's topic, because we had a lot of questions from your end regarding the scheduling engine and the methodologies. So I'll try to once again briefly clarify the methodologies and the zones, and how you can actually create and optimize your schedules using different workflows, but just briefly. So this slide actually represents how the engine of BEXEL Manager works. And yesterday I explained you that you can create methodologies. And I didn't mention, but I also want to tell you that, having in mind your feedback on the scheduling and 4D, we will probably organize additional online trainings dedicated to these topics very soon. And I forgot to mention that once you're creating the methodologies, these methodologies can be also organized in a different levels. So you can have a multiple levels of multiple hierarchy of your methodologies as well. So yesterday we just presented one simple level of methodology, but you can use multiple levels of methodology, and that provides or creates more detailed schedules with a lot of activities. But what I presented yesterday was actually creating methodology with just one level. And these methodologies was created using the cost items. And this is the best workflow. You will always have some kind of classification in your projects, and these kinds of classification can be used for methodologies. Of course, we also have sometimes the issues when we do have some classifications, but we still don't have the prices from the market. And the clients actually wants to have the schedule or some kind of presentation how the construction will looks like as soon as possible, even if they don't have the full cost analysis. In that case, you can also create methodologies without the price. I mean, you can still have your classification without the price, and you can still use these kinds of items to create your tasks for the schedule. Again, I presented how you can create different levels of phases, and in our platform, this is called zones. These are physical representation of different parts of your buildings or different logical groups of your activities on site. And I presented zones for the levels, or actually building stories, which we used for the levels. And we used some physical phases or the zones of the buildings. And at the end, I added these two building zones, which are used for two buildings, and how the system actually works. When you create your methodology, when you create your items, and then adding zone or mixing methodology with zones, you're automatically telling the system to segregate these let's say, tasks into multiple levels according to the zones. And what it means in this case, if we had, for example, these 5 cost items for the tasks, adding these 5 zone levels, automatically we're gonna have 25 tasks in the schedule created by the engine. If we added additional zone, it means that we're gonna have 5 multiplied with 5 levels and then multiplied with 4 phases. Of course, if you have all these tasks or items in each of these zones in your building, if you don't have specific task in the building, the system is smart again to automatically relinks the tasks according to the zones, lower zones of the hierarchy, and create the relations with other tasks according to your methodology. And this is really, really important to understand. And of course, I presented this quite simple building, but of course, you can do the same and apply to different types of the buildings. So we got a lot of questions regarding how you can apply that in the infrastructure projects or the tunnels or similar, where we don't have the levels for zones, but we have some different kinds of segregation. And I wanted just to mention in this today's webinar how you can do that and how you can manage these kinds of zones which are not related to your, let's say, buildings, or these automatically provided segregation based on buildings or the levels. So instead of that, you can use selection sets or any different kind of grouping of your elements based on the properties. So yesterday I presented phases 1, 2, and 3, and these are actually used for zones, and these phases are actually created using the property which is called construction phases. In this case, for let's say infrastructure project, this one, we used properties which has profile and value for this profile, which are actually different kinds of how to call it, these are actually the chainage, or actually the parts of your infrastructure project, or parts of your road or railway or a tunnel. So each part of this route of the tunnel or a roadway has specific property. And we use these kinds of property to create the zones. And of course, sometimes people ask, okay, but if these are not based on the levels of, or based on the buildings, how the system will automatically create the links? Because if I check these property, you're gonna see that we have a lot of different property for the profile. And these are just the properties or different values according to the position. And of course, if we go to the schedule and the methodologies, or actually in this case, in the zones, we can create additional zones using these. So all these properties are used to automatically segregate or create selection sets for these groups. And we can use these groups to create zones, also almost automatically. So we can use this selection sets. And then even though we had a lot of different selection sets, all these have specific values which are created in the authoring tool. And we can use all these properties to tell the system to automatically create the zones and the relations between them. And you see we had a lot of or actually in this case, hundreds of these tasks or zones which are automatically related. And of course, you can additionally change these relations. And you can use this to any kind of segregation which will be used for the zones. And this is really important to understand. So you don't have to always use automatically provided segregation based on the spatial structure. You can use any kind of segregation you like. And the system does that. And also I want to mention that the main benefit of creating this kind of schedule is you don't have to do everything manually. So as I've presented here, I'm going to just show you a brief video presenting some complex projects with a lot of zones and a lot of different stories. So this is a project of very complex building, and this project is actually executed some, I think, 5 or 6 years ago. It started 5 or 6 years ago, and our company also was involved at the beginning of the project to create some kind of schedule and provide consultancy regarding the BIM. And we created the schedule, which included in this project, in this specific project, we had 15 stories and 1 underground story. And we also had, I think, almost 10 or 11 phases, because each of these parts of the buildings was different zones. And also the parts of these lower part of the building was also different zones. And for the hospital, we had more than 70 different activities based from the classification. And these activities are also segregated in 2 levels of methodology. So practically, let me just again bring back this slide. So we had more than 70 items or activities which are used to create tasks. We had only 1 building, but we have 12 levels, or actually 16 levels, 15 underground and 15 superstructure stories and 1 underground. And we had 10 zones. So at the end, the system created more than 15,000 tasks in the schedule. And you have to agree, if we had to do it manually, it would take much time. And of course, it would be very difficult to check the quality of the created schedule. And of course, this is another topic that I want to point out. So yesterday, we created simple schedule. This is the one. And I'm gonna just pop out the Gantt chart and expand this one. And you see some activities, or actually tasks, created links between these tasks, and of course it looks good. I mean, based on the just Gantt chart, you cannot really check the quality, fully understand the quality and the methodology of the schedule itself. So additional, let's say, help we can get from the line of balance. And this is really good help. But again, if your client actually just wants to get the Gantt chart, or he doesn't understand the additional benefits of the line of balance or using BIM at all, and he just using traditional way of creating Gantt chart with other scheduling tools, the main thing is how to actually control the quality of Gantt chart. I know that there are some software for, let's say, Primavera or similar, which are actually controlling the quality based on the number of activities and relation of the activities in the schedule. And also if these tasks are all related or have some kind of links between them. But the logic, how to control the logic, there's no tool which can control the logic. And that's why this scheduling method and the BEXEL Manager engine is really, really useful, because you don't have to be the specialist for the Gantt charts or the scheduler. You just have to understand the logic of the activities, and you can just go to the methodology and check how these methodologies are created, relations of methodology. And if this one is okay, then there's a lot of, or actually there's a really good chance that your schedule created from this methodology will also be accurate and quality. So this is another benefit and let's say additional way or additional reason why using the BIM or BEXEL Manager for creating schedule and using these methodologies and zones to create your schedules using our engine is very good and reasonable. So I just wanted to let's say briefly explain you this again before we continue with today's topic. Hopefully this is more understandable now, and again we're gonna organize additional webinars or some kind of trainings, online trainings dedicated to these workflows for methodology zones and creating the schedules using BEXEL Manager. So without losing any more time to explaining something that we presented yesterday, I'm gonna start with today's topic, and that is how to create your look-ahead plans, how to input the progress, and how to track the progress and track your resources, and actually check all available information that BEXEL Manager generates in order to understand the benefits and the features which you can use to understand actually the price and all these information regarding the completion of your project. So this project right here that you see in the Gantt chart is the same one that we created yesterday. It's related to the cost estimation from yesterday based on the uniformat classification system. And now, of course, the next thing in the common process is you created a schedule, the construction actually starts, and you want to track your progress on site. The best workflow is if subcontractors are also using BEXEL Manager or any other BIM platform to input the progress from the site. I'm going to play you the video which actually shows you integration of BEXEL Manager and Trimble Connect. It also can be achieved with BIM 360 and let's say in exchanging the BCF files, which including elements or groups of the elements which are actually executed on site, and then you can use this information in the BEXEL Manager. So let me just play this brief video, and then I'm gonna explain how that can be achieved. So in this brief video, explain you the workflow of connection with the Trimble Connect. So what you usually do, or what is the common workflow? Once you created your schedule, you will usually create your look-ahead plans. So let me just check. I had issues with the video. Okay. So once you created the schedule, you can see your animation or 4D simulation and create look ahead for the next month, because usually look aheads are created on a monthly basis. And this is the way how you do it. So you can select the elements from this window and create selection sets from the elements which are supposed to be executed in the next month. So using these selected elements, you can create BCF files and share these BCF files with a site or staff on the site. The people on the site, if they're using some kind of BIM other BIM solutions for the work on site, such as Trimble Connect, they can import these BCF files provided by the scheduler or BIM management. And once they load these in their respective platform, they can see what elements are supposed to be executed in a previous month, or what are the elements which are planned to be executed in specific period. According to that, on site, they can select elements which are actually executed. So using these selection sets, they can select manually which elements are actually executed. And then creating this kind of BCF file or issue, they can bring or send you these information back, or send these information to the management back. And then loading these BCF files, you automatically have the elements which are executed on site. And then you can use the progress entry editor in BEXEL Manager, and from selected elements provided from the site staff, the system automatically calculates all resources and activities where these elements are actually included, on all tasks where these elements are included in specified period of time. And you just have to provide the date or time when you entered these progress. And by doing that, the system automatically recalculates the schedule, and according to your progress entry, it calculates the price and duration of your new or duration of your actual schedule. This is briefly explanation how you can collaborate with additional platforms, and of course, all these information generated from the site and input in the BEXEL Manager and can be exported into Power BI. And this is something that we will mention in the next week webinars. You can export all these information from the BEXEL Manager, and based on the templates of your Power BI, you can organize all these information in different kinds of reports, and these reports can be published online, so all stakeholders on the project can access these information and at any point of time and see all available information. So this is a really brief explanation how you can use collaboration, and this is the best workflow. So if you have your subcontractors which are keen to use BIM processes and to provide information from the site according to requirements regarding BIM, then you can use this workflow. And I'm going to briefly explain you on this specific sample that we used in the previous weeks, how to create one progress entry. And then I'm going to use simple BEXEL Manager demo, which all of you have with the installation of BEXEL Manager, and present you how you can use the information if you enter the progress for a specific period of time, for several months or something like that. Because in this short period of time, I don't want to input the progress for each month. I'm just going to do it for 1 month, and you can get a clear picture how and what is the best way to do it yourself. So if we have our schedule, this is the one from the yesterday, we created yesterday, the common workflow is that this planned schedule is actually becomes our baseline schedule. And we can rename this one and call it baseline. And of course, because we want to input the progress, we have to duplicate this schedule in order to create new one, which will be actual schedule. And once we do that, doing duplicating the schedule, we're going to call this one actual. And all these schedules are also related to the same cost version. So that's why you have the total cost is the same. Currently is the same because we still didn't enter any progress and we still didn't started the construction site. So once the construction starts, the common workflow is you can provide some kind of look ahead plans for the next month, and then your team on site or subcontractors can use these information in a similar ways that I presented in a video. You can create selection sets and provide BCF files. So how to do a look ahead plans? The easiest way is go to the schedule animation. Of course, we have to use schedule view. And then when we hit play, this is something that we're gonna get. And this is because currently I specified that these interval of presenting the elements on my screen are on a monthly base. By default, it's daily, and this is something that we all use to work. So this is something that we usually gonna get when we create a schedule. But in order to create monthly look-aheads, the one way is to change this default view of presenting the elements on a monthly base, or just skip to the next, let's say, month of your activities. But in this case, I'm gonna change it to monthly, and then by playing the video, each frame actually represents the elements which are supposed to be executed within that month. So these are the elements which are supposed to be executed during the first month. And of course, this disappearing excavation is supposed to be excavated. So these elements supposed to be executed. And how we can select these, how we can provide look-ahead selection sets. So the easiest way is to just select the schedule from the task view, right-click on it and select completed elements. So the system automatically selects 120 elements. And if I go to my 3D view and isolate these elements, you see that also these two excavating elements are included. So this is something that we planned to execute within the next month. And the easiest way to create selection set is just from selected elements, create new selection set, which will be called week or month 1. January 1st. Or until. And that's it. We actually created the first look ahead plan for the next month. And how the progress input looks like. So as I've explained, you can send this and create BCF files using BCF Manager and create selection sets or the issues from this. Let me just expand this window a little bit to create new issue. And these are elements supposed to be executed within the next month. Look ahead 1, month 1, and we're gonna selected elements will be included in my issue. And that's it. So we can send these BCF files to the site stuff, or we can create this online project and send these BCF files online. And if they use some kind of mobile devices using Trimble Connect, BIM 360, or any other platform on site, they can load BCF files and select the elements from these which are actually executed. So if on site we executed only elements for the first building, we can select these elements and then create new selection set. And this is something that usually you're gonna get from the site as a BCF file. So this is something executed during the month, during the first month. So now we have the selection set for the elements which are executed during the first month. And these are included in the folder which I created. This is folder progress. And these are executed during the first month. And then using the BEXEL Manager input for the progress, you can input the progress for these elements. Of course, if I go back to schedule editor, I can easily, by selecting these elements from the provided selection set of executed elements, I can find all the tasks where these elements are included. The system actually tells us which are the tasks where these elements are included in the schedule. And of course, the next way, or the best way to input the progress is using the progress tool to input the progress. So if this is something that's supposed to be executed until the January 1st, we will create that kind of progress entry. So the first thing is create new entry. And the main thing which you do not have to forget is that if you want to get the help from the BEXEL Manager in order to automatically select all the tasks with included elements for specified period of time, the thing first you have to do before entering any kind of progress is to specify the date or the timeline for which you are entering the progress. So in this case, I'm entering the progress from the start of the schedule until the 1st of January. And if we do that, if we set the period, the system, then we can use additional benefits of the BEXEL Manager, which are provided. And this is something that is extremely helpful. So we can use the option add from selected elements or from selection sets. So currently I've selected these elements, but even if I didn't select these elements, I could use the option from selection sets and then use the option execute or select elements which are provided from the site as an executed during the first month. And if I hit OK, the system automatically finds all the activities where these elements are included in specified period of time. These are all activities. Of course, we can switch this to the task, and then the system actually shows you all the tasks where these elements are included. And automatically, because we specified that these elements are actually 100% completed, the system automatically calculates the total percentage of this task. And of course, not just that, because all these elements are also related to the cost estimation, and these cost items are related to resources. We also have all these information. So we have the quantities of executed works. We have remaining quantities which is supposed to be executed in order to complete the task. And we have also, if I go back to my activities, we can see what are the resources needed for each of these activities. So you see the working hours for each of these activities. And this is something that is done, let's say, automatically. If you're receiving the elements executed on site as some BIM information, as a groups of the elements, selection sets, you can use these and provide these kinds of input. The system recognizes the information and calculates everything. Of course, this is something that is calculated based on the input. If you have some additional information from the site, for example, if for this activity you needed a little bit more resources, or you know that additional resources are used, so it's not just as planned, so you can edit all these information. So we can go to the resources and specify the actually executed number of labor or material regarding to that activity. Or if you have a lot of activities, we can select all these, and for each of these, we can at the same time change the quantity or the cost for these resources. So by changing this, we're adding additional information, additional level of information. So it means that we spent a little bit more resources than we planned. So just by doing that, the system will automatically calculate the price based on the actual resources. So if we hit OK, and again, OK, so if you're satisfied, you can do that. You can fine tune all input of the information from the site. And this is something if you are really a subcontractor and you entering all these information. So the BEXEL Manager allows you to input all these information. And once you're satisfied with the input information, you can hit OK. And once you did that, the additional really important information is that right here within the last enter date window or information, you have to tell the system when you input the progress, because based on this date, the system calculates the entry and all information will be calculated according to that. So you'll be able to get accurate information. So we specified or we input this progress on the 1st of January. And once we hit OK and close, now you can see how the schedule automatically calculates duration and the cost for the new actual schedule. So you see automatically system change duration according to the input information. And let me just pop this a little bit out. So now we created the input progress, and this green line actually shows us the last enter date of the progress. So it's 1st of January. And all the tasks which have the progress input, you can see small dots on these tasks. So these tasks actually had the input progress based on selected elements. And the system automatically calculates the percentage of completeness of these tasks according to input information. And of course, if we compare the schedule with the previous one, and I just input the progress for 1 month in order to show you the workflow. But now I'm gonna go back to the original, or let me just briefly show you. Here, in order to compare this actual progress, actual schedule with the planned schedule, we're gonna go to the new advanced actual schedule, click Edit, and set the previous one, New Advanced Baseline, as baseline. So once we specify any schedule as a baseline, then we can use all these benefits of BEXEL Manager regarding the columns, which can be used to compare the schedules. So we have to specify one schedule as a baseline, which is the previous one, baseline, and then we can compare this baseline with an actual. And then you see all these tasks has a additional line. So this one is planned, this one is actual, this one is planned, this one below is actual. So you see that we already have some delays on this task. Of course, once you created these kinds of comparing the schedule, you can use the task report. And task report can be used for each task or for entire schedule. So if you use that for entire schedule, the system shows you the progress input, new advanced actual, new baseline schedule. And because I just input 1 month without a lot of delays, the difference is almost invisible. But within the cost, you see the cost of the actual and advanced, or actually the baseline schedule. So the green one is baseline, the blue one is actual. And here you see this column which has the progress input within itself. And of course, you can check the labor and equipment regarding the resources that you input and all these information that you input, so you can see the actually used resources and the price for these. But what is more important is that now when you input the progress, you can see additional columns, or you can enable additional columns in the BEXEL Manager, so you can see the earned value and the baseline total cost and the cost variance, so you can check where you are actually in your progress, and you have some profit, or you just don't have the profit as expected. So in order to show you this, I'm gonna skip to the simple demo sample model that all of you have. And this one is right here. I just opened this one using the option Open Simple Project. And then the BEXEL Manager opens the sample project, which comes with the installation of BEXEL Manager. So all of you have this demo, so you can use this. And of course, all these methodologies and zones that I presented yesterday, this sample model has. So you can use this and try to play with this on your project. So using the provided demo sample, you have all these methodology zones, and of course, classification based on uniformat and master format classification system. So now, to explain you the benefits of comparing and the progress input or in the BEXEL Manager, I'm just gonna go to the actual schedule. This one has a lot of inputs. So you see all these tasks have some input of progress. And if I go to my progress editing window, you can see when each of the progress entries are done. So these are actually done on a weekly base, from the start of the schedule until the August of schedule, or until the sometime of mid-completion of the schedule. And for each of these progress entries, you can check the quantities of executed work for that period of time. And of course, you can check resources for these. For each of these tasks, you can check resources as well. So I'm gonna compare this actual progress schedule with the baseline, which is planned, and I'm going to specify that my planned schedule is baseline. And you see a lot of delays right now. But what is more important is to enable these additional columns so we can check all available information. So what we're gonna enable, I'm gonna insert the column for the total cost. So this is the total cost column. And the total cost is actually the new cost, which is based on the progress. This is expected price of your project based on the current progress entries at this specific time. So the last progress entry is on August 23rd. And this is the green line, which shows you the last entry date. And in this specific point of time, here we are. The total expected cost is to be 7 million. So I'm gonna include the additional columns, which are baseline. So we have a baseline total cost, which is a planned cost. So additionally, we can include the actual cost. This is the actual cost based on the progress. Of course, we have the earned value column. And this earned value column actually shows you what is the value of executed works based on the, again, last progress entry and percentage of completeness of your works. And let me just include additional column, which is also available. It's cost variance. So here we can check where we are. Do we have some benefits for each tasks or not? Which are our expenses or the benefits from the executed works on this period of time? And of course, I can include additional column which is related to the percentage. Sorry. Cost completion percentage. And here we can see what the tasks are actually executed and which percentage of executed tasks are actually is. And all these information now, let me just show you how the task report looks like. So we have a cost, planned one, the actual one. In a cumulative cost, you see the planned and the actual. So we have some additional expenses caused by resources and delays, and we have the planned one. And of course, for the labor and equipment, we can check where we are with the resources at any specific point of time based on the progress. Because for each of these tasks, we input the progress, as I've said, until the August. So according to these progress entries, you can specify the resources and the price according to the information from the site, actual information from the site. And this is the best workflow. So you're using the information as a selected elements or real BIM model elements from your project in order to get the assistance of BEXEL Manager to input the progress. And then once you do that, you can additionally fine-tune resources, and additionally, you can change. I mean, for each of these progress entries, if you don't actually think that the information from the site are accurate, you can change the completeness percentage. So once you get the information from the site that the elements are completed, the system automatically calculates these elements as completed, but you can change these information additionally if you think, or if you get additional information from the site that you got the first information inaccurately. And of course, from all these information, you can export BCF files and create the additional reports, create additional graphs or reports, including all these information. And of course, additional benefit for tracking the progress and checking and comparing, or actually proving the monthly certificates is also ability of BEXEL Manager to create monthly certificates. So using the option to export activities to Excel, you can create your monthly certificates. So right here, we can specify for which period of time we are creating the monthly certificate. And by default, the system creates monthly certificate for the last entry month. So it was the August, so it automatically creates the monthly certificate for the period from July to the August. And of course, you can specify how detailed the information will be included, so they can be included on a daily base, on a weekly base, on a monthly base, or so on. The best results are received if you use the option daily, but we can use any other for creating or generating the report. So in this case, I'm going to use daily, hit OK, and the system will create me a monthly certificate. I'm going to show you how this monthly certificate looks like. And of course, this is just a template, so you can additionally change these in the Excel spreadsheets. So this is the exported monthly certificate. In a sheet period, it shows you what is the period of time for which you created monthly certificate. The activity data is created on a daily basis and shows you all the activities, resources, quantities for each day. And again, the monthly certificate sheet is the one that we are interested in. And this one actually shows you the list of your activities based on cost classification. So these are the same cost classification that we used to create the schedule. So it's the same type of segregation. These are contracted unit cost or unit price. These are contracted quantities and contracted price. And these are actually columns which shows you the activities executed on a previous month. Or actually, no, this orange one actually shows you cumulated quantities and the price in a previous month until the period of July and August. So this is before July and August. Cumulative quantities and the price. And these yellow ones shows you the activities and quantities executed in a previous month. So these are quantities and the price for the activities executed in July until the August. And of course, these additional columns shows you the total quantities and the price for entire project up to the current date. And of course, this column actually shows you the quantity and the price, which is still left to be executed. So here we see that all these activities are completed, but for additional these lower activities, we see that this is the price that we're supposed to spend on these activities which are not executed yet. So this is really, really helpful. And of course, this is just a template, and you can reorganize it because this is as a pivot table. So you can change, for example, classification or organization of this table according, for example, your tasks from the schedule. This one is according to the classification from the cost. You can use the schedule tasks. So these are the tasks from the schedule based on the level of hierarchy of your schedule. And all these information can be organized and structured according to your needs to export the schedule according to the client's needs. And of course, there are additional ways how you can input the progress. We know that there's a lot of companies struggling from traditional way and trying to use BIM processes and trying to embrace this new process and the benefits of using the BIM-based platforms and tools. And they actually ask, do you have some kind of progress entries or some kind of help which can allow us to input the progress entries in some kind of Excel spreadsheets, not by using actually selection sets or real BIM model elements from the site, but just providing the percentages of completeness or something like that. Yes, you can do that, but I have to mention again, and I have to point out that that kind of progress entry is not accurate. You're not gonna get the information which elements or which part of the building are actually executed, because by just providing the information of percentage of completeness of specific task, you don't provide information which part of that task exactly is completed. And of course, you do not entering all these information regarding resources, specifically regarding the man hour and the quantities of executed works. So we do have some kind of additional help which can be used, but we do not recommend that kind of progress entry. The best workflow is selecting the elements and then entering the progress using the progress entry window. The workaround is you can use your planned baseline schedule and create progress export to Excel. And in that case, the system will create some kind of look-aheads for specified period of time. In this case, we can specify the period of time for next month, from January to February, and then specify that this is going to be entered in a, let's say, weekly base. So this is something that BEXEL Manager creates you as a help, but we do not recommend that kind of progress entry because this is not accurate one, and you're not going to be able to use all the information which you can get if you input the progress from the elements. So this is the exported schedule, or this is the exported table, which can help you to input the progress. So this is the one. So here you see the tasks. which is supposed to be executed in specified period of time, start date, finish date. These are the tasks. And here in these columns, you see the planned quantity, which is planned for that period of time, and you see the total quantity. And in the next columns right here, you can create your progress inputs. So let me just show you. So this is the column which tells you which are the quantities supposed to be executed for each of these tasks in this period of time. And this is what is planned. So within the column actual, you can specify the actual quantities executed, and the system will calculate the percentage. So you see the system calculates the actual percentage of completed works based on the actual quantities presented in this column. And by doing that, you can just provide these kinds of Excel information, save it, and then you can import this information back in the BEXEL Manager. But by doing that, you're not to be able to get all this information regarding the all these information which you can see additionally if you input the progress accurately. So we almost got to the end of today's session. Let me check if you have some questions. Hopefully it was understandable, and I just presented the main workflows. I mean, you can use some kind of workarounds, but using this main workflow, you're gonna get the best results. So let me just check if you have some questions. Could you please show us the material tab in the task report window? I see empty here. Yes, this is because cost classification we used for this is uniformat, and uniformat classification in this case didn't have materials as resources. So that's why in the material task report graph, you didn't see the material information. So you're just gonna see the labor, equipment, and the activity. That's the main reason. So in your schedules, in your project, you can create your cost items with materials included, and then you'll be able to see all this information. How do you manage change to the total cost value and changes in the model schedule? So the total cost value is actually automatically generated based on the progress. So once I input the progress from selected elements and input the real resources which are needed or which are actually used on site. So this is something that I presented on the first example. So once you go to your progress entries, create new entry from selected elements, you can use different types of selections of the elements, but the best scenario is using from selection sets. And then the system can, or actually the system will tell you which elements supposed to be executed and which are the quantities. I can show you some workarounds. So for example, from the period from the August until the, let's say the 31st of September, we don't have anything from the site. We don't have any information from the site. We can use the additional help from the BEXEL Manager and saying that we want that BEXEL Manager shows us which are the planned activities and the tasks in this period of time. So we can do this. And system now shows us which are the activities and the tasks planned for this specific period of time. And then if we do not have the information from the site, we can manually input the progress here. But this is again some kind of workaround, because how you can input the progress if you don't have any information from the site? The other way is if you are using the BEXEL Manager as a platform on site and input the progress right here. So then this is the good way. So here you can specify the percentages of completed work in this period of time. And based on these percentages and resources that you specify here as an executed in this period of time, the system will automatically calculate the total cost. So let me just change it for the December, I think. So you see the system automatically changes all this information based on the current progress entry. Power BI option is not visible in my BEXEL Manager. How I can get and activate it working? I'm not really sure. I'm going to check that with the development team, but the latest versions of BEXEL Manager automatically has the export to Power BI included. How does it work with the fixed price contracts? Does the program recalculate always the project? If you have the fixed price contracts, these are used as baseline contracts. If you think that some kind of contracts as a with a fixed price, contracted fixed price, then you can specify that these are the prices which are not going to be changed, and you can link your schedule. You can link your schedule to that cost version, which is not going to be changed, and based on the progress, everything. When you inputting the progress, there's a lot of workaround for that, but one of the workarounds for that is every time when you input the progress, you're just going to specify the percentage of completeness without changing resources and the price of the actual resources spent on the site. So at the end, you're going to get the same price, but with specific delays. There's no issue with doing that. I assume same would be if we have 2 tasks for a single cost item. Yes, it would be the similar. Do we have some more questions? Can I register special events like this for any next webinar that we are planning to organize? You'll be all be informed on time, so you'll be able to register for that. I think we responded to all of your questions. So if no more questions, thank you for your attendance, and see you next week. Bye-bye.